Imagine this, a relentless sun blazing overhead, its scorching rays reflecting off dusty roads and casting long shadows beneath modest buildings.
Amidst this vivid backdrop, a convoy of sleek black SUVs snakes through small towns and rural landscapes, carrying one of Africa's most influential leaders, President Ibrahim Traoré. It is a day like many others for the man at the helm of Burkina Faso's government, yet it holds moments that will test his resolve, redefine his perspective, and ultimately shape his legacy. This is the sun was burning hot, where heat isn't just physical but symbolic, a metaphor for the pressures of leadership, the weight of responsibility, and the unyielding pursuit of justice. The morning had begun early, as it often does for those entrusted with guiding nations. Back-to-back events filled the hours, speeches delivered to energize supporters, handshakes exchanged with local leaders, and visits to community projects spearheaded by his administration. Each stop was meticulously planned, designed to showcase progress and inspire hope among citizens striving for better lives. Yet, despite the meticulous planning, fatigue lingered in every corner of the journey. The president's guards, ever vigilant, flanked him at every turn, their eyes scanning crowds for signs of trouble. Despite the exhaustion etched on everyone's faces, there was an unspoken sense of duty propelling them forward, a shared understanding that their work transcended personal comfort or convenience. Amidst the whirlwind of activity, one pressing need began to dominate Ibrahim's thoughts: hunger. Sitting at the back of his SUV, he leaned slightly forward and murmured to no one in particular, "I need to eat.
I can't take it anymore."
His voice carried both urgency and fatigue, a stark reminder that even leaders are human, subject to the same basic needs as anyone else. Hunger, after all, does not discriminate based on titles or achievements.
It gnaws relentlessly until satisfied, demanding attention regardless of external circumstances.
One of his guards, a tall man with sharp eyes and years of experience under his belt, turned around quickly. "Sir," he said, his tone respectful but firm, "we know a fancy restaurant not too far from here. Very clean, very safe."
Another guard chimed in, nodding emphatically.
"Yes, sir.
Only important people eat there. It's the best." But Ibrahim shook his head, a faint smile tugging at the corners of his mouth.
"No," he replied calmly, though his tone left no room for argument. "I don't trust those places.
Too many enemies are watching me. Those big restaurants, anything can happen there."
His words hung in the air, heavy with implication. The guards exchanged worried glances, unsure how to proceed. Finally, one of them ventured cautiously, "But sir, a local restaurant is too risky." Ibrahim raised a hand, cutting him off mid-sentence. "Find me a simple place," he instructed, his voice steady yet resolute.
"A local restaurant somewhere the common people eat."
There was a brief pause before the convoy adjusted its course, veering away from the main highway toward a quieter part of town. Within 10 minutes, they pulled up beside a modest establishment, a small, weathered building with a faded signboard swaying gently in the breeze. The aroma of fried fish, spicy stew, and freshly baked bread wafted through the air, mingling with the sounds of laughter and lively conversation. Simple wooden tables were scattered beneath makeshift awnings, providing shade for patrons who dined al fresco.
Stepping out of the car, Ibrahim took a deep breath, savoring the authenticity of the scene.
"This is real life," he said softly, almost to himself, as his guards formed a protective perimeter around him. An elderly man with graying hair and kind eyes approached them, his weathered face breaking into a warm smile.
"Good afternoon, my sons. Come, sit. We have the best food in town."
They settled at a corner table, partially hidden from view. The guards scanned the area meticulously, ensuring everything appeared safe. Meanwhile, the restaurant owner, thrilled to serve such distinguished guests, hurried to the kitchen to prepare a special meal. Moments later, a plate of steaming hot rice and rich, aromatic stew was placed before Ibrahim. His stomach growled audibly as he picked up his spoon, anticipation lighting up his face. Just as he was about to take his first bite, however, chaos erupted. Out of nowhere, a frail-looking old woman appeared, her clothes torn and her gait uneven. Without uttering a word, she lunged toward the table, grabbed the plate of food, and hurled it onto the ground. The guards sprang into action, their hands instinctively moving toward their weapons. Gasps rippled through the crowd of diners, some standing up to get a better look at the unfolding drama. "How dare you," one of the guards barked, his voice laced with anger. "Beat her," another shouted, his fury palpable.
But Ibrahim raised a hand, halting them in their tracks.
"No," he said firmly, his gaze fixed on the trembling figure before him.
"Leave her. She is someone's mother. Maybe she is not well mentally." Though the guards reluctantly lowered their weapons, tension still crackled in the air.
The old woman stood silently, her chest rising and falling with labored breaths, her eyes locked onto Ibrahim's. The restaurant owner, visibly shaken, rushed over, stammering apologies. "Sir, I am so sorry. Please let me bring another plate." A fresh serving arrived moments later, the delicious aroma wafting invitingly. Once again, Ibrahim reached for his spoon, but just as he prepared to dig in, the old woman reappeared. This time, instead of throwing the food, she snatched the plate, sank to the floor, and began devouring it ravenously with her bare hands. The guards were livid.
"Enough is enough," one roared, stepping forward to intervene.
But once more, Ibrahim stopped them. "Leave her," he commanded quietly. "If she is hungry, let her eat." Whispers rippled through the restaurant. Some patrons speculated that the woman was mad, others believed this was an ominous sign. The owner, mortified beyond words, brought a third plate of food. This time, the dish looked even more appetizing, the rice perfectly cooked, the meat tender and juicy, the spices expertly balanced. As Ibrahim picked up his spoon yet again, the old woman rose slowly to her feet. Her demeanor had changed, her wild-eyed desperation was replaced by a calm seriousness. Meeting his gaze directly, she spoke in a clear, commanding voice. "Young man," she addressed him, unaware of his true identity, "if you love your life, do not eat this food. Disaster will strike if you do." The room fell utterly silent, the atmosphere thick with disbelief and unease. Ibrahim stared at her, his patience wearing thin. He had shown restraint, even empathy, but now he felt his temper flare. "I am hungry, woman," he snapped, his tone icy. "I have respected you enough. How dare you stand there and tell me not to eat?" The old woman didn't flinch. Her eyes, filled with a mixture of sadness and fear, bore into his. "Eat it, and you will regret it," she repeated, her voice unwavering. Something in her words struck a chord deep within Ibrahim. Ignoring the protests of his guards, he ordered, "Bring me the restaurant owner." The elderly proprietor came running, his hands trembling. "Yes, sir? Who cooked this food?" Ibrahim demanded. "My wife, sir." "She is the cook," the man stammered nervously. "Call her." Minutes later, a middle-aged woman emerged from the kitchen, clutching her apron tightly. She looked terrified as she approached the table. "Did you cook this food yourself?" Ibrahim asked, his tone measured but probing. "Yes, sir," she replied hesitantly. "Give me your hand." Confused, the woman extended her palm. Ibrahim examined it closely, then studied her face. Beads of sweat rolled down her forehead, and her eyes darted around like those of a trapped animal. "You are lying," he declared quietly, his voice carrying an undeniable authority. The old woman nodded solemnly, confirming his suspicion. The restaurant owner looked stunned. "My wife, she would never." Ibrahim stood abruptly. "Search the kitchen," he ordered his guards. Within minutes, they returned, holding a small bottle marked with a black skull. Poison. The truth unraveled swiftly. The woman broke down in tears, confessing that strangers had bribed her to poison a special guest rumored to be passing through town. She had no idea it would be the president himself. Horrified murmurs spread among the customers. Some prayed aloud, others wept openly. Amidst the commotion, Ibrahim turned to the old woman. Shame burned in his chest as he realized how close he had come to losing his life because he hadn't listened sooner. He knelt down before her, shocking everyone present. "Mother," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "you saved my life." The old woman simply smiled, her expression serene. ###a revelation beyond survival. After the initial shock subsided, Ibrahim invited the old woman to a quiet corner behind the restaurant, away from prying eyes. His guards followed instinctively, but he waved them off. "Stay back," he commanded, his tone brooking no argument. Once alone, he turned to her, his curiosity burning brightly. "Mother," he began, his voice soft yet insistent, "how did you know the food was poisoned? And why did you come here today?" The old woman regarded him with wise, tired eyes. "My son," she said gently, "I see things others don't. Last night, I had a dream. I saw you sitting at a table, about to eat food that would kill you. Darkness surrounded you. So I had to save you." Ibrahim stared at her, speechless. Chills ran down his spine as he absorbed her words. There was something otherworldly about her presence, something ancient and profound. But she wasn't finished. "That's not all," she continued, her voice growing serious. Leaning closer, she whispered, "You must be careful.
Not all the people around you love you.
Some of your own guards, they are pretending, smiling in front of you but holding knives behind their backs.
Ibrahim's heart skipped a beat.
His mind raced as he processed her warning. These were men he had trusted implicitly, men who had fought beside him, protected him, and sworn allegiance to his cause.
Could it really be true?
How could this be? He whispered, his voice trembling. The old woman shook her head sadly.
Your wife warned you before.
She saw signs, but you, like many men, refused to listen. At this, Ibrahim froze. Memories flooded back, his wife's gentle warnings, her intuition that something was amiss among his inner circle. He had dismissed her concerns, laughing them off as mere paranoia. Now, standing in front of this poor, unassuming woman, her words hit him like a hammer.
How do you know all this? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper.
The old woman smiled kindly.
I know many things, my son. I have lived many years.
I have seen kings rise and fall.
I have witnessed betrayal in places you wouldn't imagine. I see things others cannot.
Ibrahim felt weak in the knees. He sank onto a broken bench nearby, holding his head in his hands.
Who could he trust now? Who was real, and who was fake?
The old woman placed a gentle hand on his shoulder.
Do not be afraid, she said soothingly. God has protected you today. He has given you another chance. But you must open your eyes.
Tears welled up in Ibrahim's eyes as he looked at her.
Mother, I will not let you go. From today, you will live with me.
You will stay close.
I need your wisdom.
The old woman laughed softly.
Me? Live in a palace? I am just a poor old woman.
You saved my life, Ibrahim insisted firmly.
You opened my eyes.
That makes you more valuable than all the gold in my house. Without waiting for further protest, he led her back to the car, personally opening the door for her, an act that left even his most seasoned guards dumbfounded.
Never before had they seen the president treat anyone with such reverence.
As they drove back to the presidential mansion, the old woman sat quietly beside him, gazing out the window at the passing cityscape. Ibrahim studied her profile, marveling at the simplicity and strength she exuded. She seemed so ordinary, yet she carried a power far greater than anything he had encountered in his political career. When they arrived, the mansion staff stood frozen in astonishment as they watched the nation's leader walk hand in hand with an elderly woman dressed in worn clothing.
Prepare a room for her, Ibrahim ordered. The best room.
Yes, sir, they replied in unison, scrambling to comply. That night, as Ibrahim sat alone in his private study, his mind replayed every detail of the day. He thought about the faces of his guards, the ones who had shared meals with him, laughed with him, and stood by his side during battles.
Now, doubt crept into his heart. Which of them was plotting against him? Trust, he realized, was like glass.
Once shattered, it could never be fully restored.
####, testing loyalty, a trial of truth.
The next morning, Ibrahim woke with a heavy heart. Sleep had eluded him throughout the night, his thoughts consumed by the old woman's revelations. One phrase echoed relentlessly in his mind: some of your guards are not to be trusted. Determined to uncover the truth, he called for an emergency meeting restricted to only his most senior personnel. The old woman, now dressed in a clean gown provided by the mansion staff, sat quietly in a corner of the presidential meeting room.
Her presence was unassuming, yet her aura commanded respect.
When the guards filed in, they stood tall and proud, their expressions confident. These were men who had served Ibrahim for years, risking their lives alongside him in countless struggles. Surely none of them could harbor ill intentions toward him, or so he had believed until yesterday. Ibrahim surveyed each face carefully, searching for cracks beneath the surface. To his surprise, he noticed subtle shifts in their demeanor, furtive glances exchanged between certain individuals, nervous twitches, and forced smiles. Doubt gnawed at him, but he remained composed. The old woman spoke first, her voice soft yet authoritative. Tell them to swear before God that they have no evil in their hearts toward you, she advised.
Ibrahim nodded, addressing the assembled guards.
Step forward, one by one, and swear upon the Bible that you hold no ill will or malicious intent against me.
A tense silence enveloped the room.
The first guard stepped forward confidently, placed his hand on the sacred text, and recited the oath. His voice was steady, his gaze unwavering. Ibrahim believed him.
The second guard followed suit, repeating the same words.
However, his hand trembled slightly as he held the Bible. Though barely noticeable, the old woman caught it immediately, her sharp eyes missing nothing. By the time the third guard approached, the atmosphere grew colder. His voice rang loud and clear, but his eyes darted around nervously.
Sweat dripped from his brow, betraying his anxiety.
Before he could finish, the old woman stood up abruptly. Pointing a finger at him, she declared, "That one."
"Ask him again." Ibrahim's pulse quickened.
"Swear again," he commanded, his tone sharper this time. The third guard faltered. His knees buckled, and suddenly, he collapsed to the floor, sobbing uncontrollably.
"Please forgive me, sir," he cried. "They forced me. They offered me money, they promised my family would be wealthy forever if I helped poison you." The room erupted in chaos. Shouts and curses filled the air as accusations flew back and forth. Ibrahim, however, remained eerily still. Betrayal cut deeper than any blade, and the man kneeling before him was someone he had once called brother. "Who are they?"
Ibrahim asked quietly, his voice laced with restrained fury.
"They are enemies from outside," the traitor whimpered. "People who hate you because you fight for the poor. They know you are changing the country. They want you dead."
Ibrahim's jaw tightened, his fists clenching involuntarily. Rage bubbled inside him, but he forced himself to remain calm.
Anger would solve nothing.
Turning to his chief of security, he instructed, "Take him away.
Find out who else is involved."
"Yes, sir," came the swift reply. The traitor was dragged out, still weeping.
Silence descended upon the room once more.
The old woman walked over to Ibrahim, placing a comforting hand on his shoulder. "You see, my son," she said gently, "powerful men die not from their enemies' knives but from their friends' smiles." Ibrahim bowed his head in gratitude.
"You have saved me again, mother. I owe you my life."
Tears glistened in the old woman's eyes.
"I only did what God sent me to do."
Addressing the remaining guards, Ibrahim spoke with renewed resolve.
"From today onward, loyalty will not be measured by years of service but by the truth inside your hearts. If anyone here feels conflicted, leave now. But remember this, betrayal will not be tolerated. Justice will find you."
The guards nodded, their expressions a mix of fear and respect. ####A new chapter, leadership reimagined.
In the days that followed, Ibrahim underwent a transformation.
The encounter with the old woman had awakened something within him, a deeper understanding of humility, vigilance, and the fragility of trust. He became more introspective, questioning not only the motives of those around him but also his own leadership style. Every evening, he visited the old woman, sitting at her feet like a student eager to learn. She shared stories of resilience, wisdom, and the timeless lessons she had gathered over decades of living. Through her guidance, Ibrahim refined his approach to governance. He began listening more intently to his advisors, especially his wife, whose instincts he had previously underestimated. Under his renewed leadership, policies aimed at uplifting the marginalized gained momentum. Corruption investigations intensified, and reforms targeting transparency became a priority. The public responded with overwhelming support, sensing a genuine commitment to their welfare.
For the old woman, life changed dramatically. Once destitute and forgotten, she found herself embraced by the presidential household.
She dined with the family, shared laughter with the children, and became a cherished matriarchal figure. In return, she offered invaluable counsel, helping shape a leader who prioritized integrity above all else. As Ibrahim reflected on these changes, he realized that survival was not merely about escaping danger, it was about emerging stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. The old woman had taught him that true power lies not in authority but in the ability to inspire trust and foster unity. And so, the story of Ibrahim Traoré serves as a powerful reminder: even the mightiest leaders are shaped by the humblest of encounters. Applying leadership lessons to modern challenges. The narrative of President Ibrahim Traoré offers profound insights into the essence of leadership, particularly in today's complex and interconnected world. His journey underscores the importance of humility, vigilance, and adaptability, qualities that resonate deeply in contemporary leadership discourse. Let us delve deeper into these principles and explore how they can be applied to modern challenges across various sectors.
Humility as a strength.
Humility often gets overshadowed by charisma and decisiveness in leadership discussions, yet it remains a cornerstone of effective governance. Ibrahim's willingness to listen to the old woman, despite her unassuming appearance, demonstrates the transformative power of humility. In today's fast-paced environment, where leaders are bombarded with information and opinions, cultivating humility enables them to remain open-minded and receptive to diverse perspectives. For instance, corporate executives can benefit immensely from engaging with frontline employees who possess first-hand knowledge of operational challenges. Similarly, policymakers should consider grassroots feedback when designing programs aimed at societal improvement. By embracing humility, leaders not only enrich their decision-making processes but also foster a culture of inclusivity and mutual respect.
Vigilance in building trust. The fragility of trust is poignantly illustrated in Ibrahim's ordeal.
His realization that betrayal can emerge from unexpected quarters highlights the critical need for vigilance in leadership.
In an era marked by digital communication and global interdependence, maintaining trust requires constant effort and transparency. Leaders must adopt robust mechanisms to ensure accountability within their teams. For example, businesses can implement regular audits and ethical training sessions to reinforce integrity among employees.
Political leaders, on the other hand, can leverage technology to enhance transparency in governance, such as using blockchain for secure voting systems or publishing open data portals for citizen access.
By prioritizing vigilance, leaders create environments where trust thrives, enabling collaboration and innovation to flourish.
Adaptability in times of change. Ibrahim's transformation following his encounter with the old woman exemplifies the value of adaptability in leadership.
In a rapidly evolving world, leaders must be agile enough to pivot strategies based on new insights and circumstances. Consider the tech industry, where companies like Netflix transitioned from DVD rentals to streaming services in response to shifting consumer preferences. Similarly, educational institutions have adapted to remote learning models during global crises, ensuring continuity in education. Adaptability allows leaders to navigate uncertainty with confidence, turning potential setbacks into opportunities for growth. By staying attuned to emerging trends and being willing to embrace change, leaders position themselves and their organizations for long-term success. Integrity as a guiding principle.
Above all, Ibrahim's story reinforces the timeless significance of integrity. Whether leading a nation, managing a team, or running a household, integrity forms the bedrock of credibility and influence.
Leaders who uphold high ethical standards inspire loyalty and commitment from those around them.
Take, for instance, environmental activists advocating for sustainable practices. Their unwavering dedication to preserving ecosystems garners widespread support and drives meaningful change. Likewise, entrepreneurs committed to fair trade and ethical sourcing build brands that resonate with socially conscious consumers. Integrity not only strengthens individual reputations but also contributes to building resilient communities and institutions.
Fostering unity through empathy.
Finally, the old woman's role in shaping Ibrahim's leadership philosophy underscores the importance of empathy in fostering unity. Empathy enables leaders to connect with others on a human level, bridging divides and creating shared purpose. Nonprofit organizations, for example, rely heavily on empathetic leadership to mobilize volunteers and donors toward common goals. Healthcare professionals exhibit empathy daily, ensuring patients feel heard and valued during vulnerable moments.
By nurturing empathy, leaders cultivate environments where individuals feel empowered to contribute meaningfully, ultimately strengthening collective efforts. In conclusion, the lessons drawn from President Ibrahim Traoré's experiences offer a blueprint for navigating the complexities of modern leadership.
Humility, vigilance, adaptability, integrity, and empathy collectively form a framework that equips leaders to address challenges with wisdom and resilience. As we reflect on his journey, we are reminded that leadership is not defined solely by authority or achievements but by the ability to inspire trust, foster unity, and drive positive change. #Why this story matters, a call to action. The tale of President Ibrahim Traoré is not merely a historical anecdote or a cautionary fable, it is a mirror reflecting universal truths about human nature, leadership, and the enduring quest for balance between power and vulnerability. At its core, this story resonates with anyone who has faced adversity, questioned their judgment, or sought guidance in uncertain times. Its relevance extends beyond political arenas, touching the lives of individuals across professions, cultures, and generations. What makes this narrative profoundly impactful is its ability to humanize leadership. In a world often captivated by larger-than-life personas, it reminds us that even the most influential figures are susceptible to doubt, hunger, and fear. Ibrahim's vulnerability, his willingness to kneel before an elderly woman and acknowledge her wisdom, challenges conventional notions of authority. It compels us to reconsider how we perceive strength. True strength, as this story illustrates, lies not in dominance but in humility, courage, and the capacity to learn from those society might overlook.
Moreover, the story carries a timeless lesson about trust. Trust, much like glass, is fragile and irreplaceable once broken.
Ibrahim's ordeal with betrayal forces us to confront uncomfortable questions. Who do we surround ourselves with?
How do we ensure accountability without fostering paranoia?
These dilemmas are not confined to presidential palaces, they manifest in workplaces, friendships, and families. The narrative encourages readers to evaluate their circles critically, recognizing that trust must be earned and safeguarded vigilantly.
Equally significant is the moral compass provided by the old woman.
Her actions embody a rare blend of intuition, selflessness, and moral clarity. In an age rife with cynicism and skepticism, her character serves as a beacon of hope. She reminds us that wisdom often resides in unexpected places and that compassion can transcend barriers of wealth, status, and power. Her intervention saves not only Ibrahim's life but also his legacy, steering him toward a path of integrity and purpose. Ultimately, this story matters because it invites reflection and action. It prompts us to examine our values, question our assumptions, and strive for authenticity in our interactions. Whether you're a leader grappling with organizational challenges, a parent instilling values in your children, or an individual navigating personal growth, this narrative offers actionable insights. It urges us to embrace humility, prioritize trust, and remain open to guidance even when it comes from the most unlikely sources.
So, why does this story matter to you?
Because within its pages lies a roadmap for resilience and transformation. It challenges you to become a better version of yourself, to lead with empathy, and to recognize the profound impact of small, intentional acts. Let this story inspire you to seek wisdom beyond appearances, to nurture relationships rooted in honesty, and to approach life's complexities with grace and determination. After all, every leader, regardless of title or stature, is shaped by the humblest of encounters.